How's it going, everyone? Tyler here with our first guide, and this is just going to be an introduction to VGC in general, as well as a little bit of the basic resources that are used in getting into VGC. So this guide is aimed more towards new players, players who've never played VGC before, or maybe even competitive Pokemon at all. So if you've been playing this for a while, this guide probably isn't for you. But if you don't know what VGC is or know very little about it and are really interested in learning about it and maybe trying it out, then this guide is definitely for you. So I recommend you stay tuned and watch it throughout, as well as just check out the links I have in the description below. I'll have plenty of links to check out throughout this video, and I'm going to showcase a little bit of the resources I list here just to kind of show you how it works, and you can have a visual as well as how to use those. So let's get started. The very first thing you want to ask is, what is VGC? Well, VGC, it stands for Video Game Championship. So VGC is the Pokemon Company's official competitive circuit known as the Video Game Championship Series, and it's a series of various live tournaments, and there's a range of them from small to large. Well, the smallest one called Premier Challenges all the way to the World Championships, and they all give you championship points for placing high enough. The championship points help you earn your invite towards the World Championships, which is the highest tournament you play in. There's reward, cash prizes for these bigger events to be won if you do well. That kind of about sums that up. They are played in double battles formats, which I'll get into a little later more in depth about the actual current format that we're about to start or have already started, depending on when you watch this. There is a web page on Pokemon's website for what's called Play Pokemon. Play Pokemon is the title for all the competitive Pokemon, including TCG or trading card game, as well as Pokken Tournament, and then Video Game Championship Series is included in that, which is the handheld 3DS games. So there's a link in the description below to that, so check that out. And now that we know what it is, why play in it? From my experience, I've played Pokemon since the first games came out, Pokemon Red and Blue. Blue was my very first game, and I've always played the games ever since, but just kind of casually, just played the stories, enjoyed that. And then one day, or 1 year, when I think it was Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire came out, I picked those up, played them, because I hadn't played Pokemon in a while. I got a 3DS and played it, and I wanted to engage in Pokemon in a different way. And I knew about the competitive circuit, and they made it more easier to breed and train Pokemon for it. So I decided to try it out, and it was really cool to just experience Pokemon in a new way. As the first bullet says, there's a lot of depth to Pokemon in the battling system than you realize. In the game, it's just you have you get the type advantage, and you blow through the NPCs or the AI. But when you're playing other players, the depth of the game is far greater than I ever thought, and it's a lot like playing chess with an element of luck. I think is the best way I've heard it described, and I think I agree with that. So it's just like thinking ahead, planning your turns out, board position. So just experiencing Pokemon in that way has been incredible. So that's a big reason to play. I think it just really broadens or just gives you a deeper experience of Pokemon in the game in general. And another cool thing about it is when you go to live events, and sometimes even online, you can just engage with other fans of the franchise, and that's kind of a cool thing because there's a lot of Pokemon fans out there, and I feel like we're scattered. But then when I go to a regional tournament, and we kind of come together with all these Pokemon fans, and we have something that brings us together, which probably wouldn't normally. It just makes it really cool, and it actually kind of brings me out of my shell a little bit as an introvert, and it's really ironic that one of the most, probably the best part I love about playing in VGC in the competitive circuit is interacting with these people and making these new friends. And as introverted as I am, it's kind of crazy that that's my favorite aspect of it. And I've made friends from outside of Boise now, made a lot of friends in Utah that I've battle, practice with, team build with, go to events with, as well as people in other cities across the country, or in my region of the more western part of the United States that, you know, we get to see these people at these events, and it's been a really cool experience to do that and just meet people from different backgrounds and all that, all kind of brought together because of this, you know, this one game. As crazy as it sounds, but it really kind of brings people together, which is amazing. And then people from around the world. You know, I've competed in Worlds the last 2 years and gotten to play other people from a different country, and that's been really cool. So I think if there's any reason to play, it's for the experience and just the ability to meet new people and make new friends outside of like your area. So, you know, I have my friends here in Boise, then I also have my friends outside that are involved with Pokemon, and it's a really, really great time. All right, and so I've told you what it is, why you play in it. Now, how do you play? Well, there are some resources out there, and the most important thing for starting out is knowing about the event locator on Pokemon.com. So there's a search engine on Pokemon where you can search for sanctioned events, and it'll list all the events, and you can sort it by event date or by distance, and then you can, you know, look up the details of that, and then if you want to go, you just go to that at the time that's happening with a legal team. And even if you don't have like the best Pokemon, a lot of times there's some people that will be willing to help out. I know at my tournaments I always bring like an extra team or something for new players. Whenever we get like a new player or two, I just have a team just to let them use so they can play with a competitive team and try and get the, you know, like the fullest experience. And I'll have a link in the description below for the event locator, and in a second I'm going to kind of show you guys how to use that so you can have a visual of how it works and all that. And another thing is, when you go to events, it's really good idea to talk to the TO, the tournament, or which is the tournament organizer, about different like groups, like Facebook groups will usually are ran by them, or they run Facebook groups that will have the events as a Facebook event in the group, and you can get in contact and get involved that way, join the group, and then you can just, you know, if you use Facebook frequently, or at least check it, you can see the events that they have as well. So you can see it on the event locator, or you can go to the Facebook group or the Facebook page. And I think most areas have this. I know our area has a Facebook group, as well as a website for like both TCG and VGC. So that's a great way to find how to go to events once you've kind of maybe gone to one or two. Just get connected that way, which is a really great way. Now I'm going to kind of show you guys the Pokemon website for Play Pokemon, as well as the event locator and how to use that. Alright, and here we have the Pokemon's website, and when you go here you'll see a bunch of like different news and things, but what you want to click is this button here to play Pokemon events. So when you get to this page, this has all the information about Play Pokemon, or the official competitive circuit. So like for instance here, like tells you the format, and here is news on one of the recent regional championships, and then here on the side is a list of useful links. So here's information about the championship series, like the different regional events and international events and their dates and locations. Here you can look up past events and see what teams were used and the top teams at the events, such as regionals and higher. It'll show like the Pokemon they use, the natures, the moves, all that stuff. Really useful to see. Here you can see the leaderboards for current championship point standings in different regions. Championship points are the things you try and earn by placing high enough at events to work towards getting your Worlds invite, which there's a set amount of points that you are aiming for, which you can find up in the details here. The rules and resources, pretty straightforward. Has rules document plus some other things that are really good to read up on, and I'll have a slide. There's a slide about the rules for this year, as well as a link to the rules document itself for this year. Strategy Center has some helpful guides for battling, getting Pokemon, things like that. It's really handy. Some nice articles in here. And then this link just talks about the World Championships, which this one isn't updated yet because we don't have all the information of the 2018 World Championships. All we know is it'll be in Nashville, Tennessee this year, and it's usually in mid to late August. So this will update as it later. For now, this is still a past one. And then here is the event locator, this one right here. And this is what I want to show you guys about for if you're getting into VGC. So when you're in the event locator, don't necessarily need to use the advanced search. You can just use this. You just select your country. I'm in the United States. You can put your zip code or postal code, whatever you want to call it, or you can put in the city. So I'll just enter my city as Boise, and then you have some other things here. So the distance I'll set to any. Start search from today. I'm going to say search for events within the next 3 months, and then here you kind of search for the types of events. So we're looking for premier events. So premier events are like the official tournaments that'll give championship points. There are sometimes some fun tournaments you can look up that they don't give points or anything, that you just go for fun, and there'll be different formats than like the official. And then leagues can be useful. They're mostly for trading card game, but there are some leagues that'll run VGC as well. So, but we're just going to look for premier events in this example. Obviously we don't want trading card games. This is a video game guide, and I like to sort by distance. That seems to be the most useful, at least for me, since I don't have a ton of events in the area. And then I'll go with 25 results per page, and so as you can see, you can have more or less, and then just click search, and then here they are. Here's the list of all the events that are currently officially sanctioned and listed here, and it shows sorted by distance. You got the date and time here, location, the town and state it's in. Some things aren't always up to date, like I know there's a mid-season in Utah, but right now this is the only Utah event. And so, but what you do when you get to here is you can click on the event. So I'm going to click on the Idaho Winter Midseason Showdown, which is my next event coming up. And you can see the name, tournament ID. This stuff's not super helpful other than the date and the time. So it shows the date and then what time you need to be there to register. Obviously it's a video game and all that. And then here's your organizer information. This is the person running it, and then if you need to email them, you just click this, type in the text to show you're not a bot, hit submit, and then it'll provide the email for you to contact them if you have any questions. And then the location information, obviously this is going to be the most important thing, so you can actually make it to the event. You have the address and everything, and then you can even look up on the map, and then the website. This is useful for finding future events as well, because I know a lot of organizers have their own websites or their own Facebook groups, so this is a good thing to check out for other events. And then even when you go to the event, you can ask about other Facebook groups and the website to stay up to date. And then extra details here, so the time for registration, the cost, and then the format, as well as more info to come later. So this is going to be a great tool here for starting out and finding events when you're brand new and maybe don't know anyone yet. So yeah, let's just keep moving on to the next thing. Okay, so now that we've seen how to get to the tournament, what do you bring? Because obviously for a competitive game there's going to be rules, and also there's what we call the format, and every year the format changes, and this year, and we usually just call it like the format by the year it's used in. So this coming format's the VGC 18 format, and the rule set for that, and I'll just read this off really quick. It's actually not as complicated as it looks. It's pretty simple. So the entire national dex is allowed, so all the Pokemon in the Pokedex are allowed. The exceptions, of course, are mythical and what I call cover legendary Pokemon. So by mythical Pokemon, it's those ones you can't obtain in game. They're only given through events. So like Mew, Celebi, Jirachi, Keldeo, those Pokemon, the mythicals, even Deoxys actually, but those are considered mythical and they can't be used, mainly because they're just really rare and hard to obtain, and I think it just wouldn't be very fair to everyone. And then what I call the cover legendaries, these are the really powerful legendary Pokemon that play like a major role in the story of the game, or they're on the cover of the box art of a game. So Mewtwo, Groudon, Lugia, Ho-Oh, Dialga, Palkia, Giratina, those Pokemon are all banned. 26, there's two formats they've been allowed in 2010 and 2016. They're allowed on a restricted basis, but in this format they are not allowed because they're just too powerful, and they would, they would just blow so many Pokemon just out of the water. The other legends that there are legendary Pokemon that are allowed, it's like the trios like Moltres, Zapdos, and Articuno. Those Pokemon are legal. They're not nearly as powerful as these like cover legendaries, and some of them are very good. A lot of them, you know, aren't used nearly as much. So you have like the legendary birds, the legendary beasts from the Gen 2 games, Suicune, Entei, Raikou, you know, Reggie Trio, and so on and so on. And things like Landorus, Thundurus, and the Tapus and the Ultra Beasts, those are all legal. The next thing is items. All items. There's no items that are banned anymore that I'm aware of. But you cannot have two of the same item on a team. So you can't have, you know, let's say a Heatran with a Life Orb, as well as a Landorus Therian form with a Life Orb. They can't both hold Life Orb. One has to hold Life Orb, and the other has to hold something else. Or you can't have, you know, two Pokemon holding Salamence. I don't know. You wouldn't want to do that because the only Pokemon that can actually make use of it is the Pokemon Salamence. But you can't do that. But you could have like Pokemon with Salamence and Kangaskhanite, namely Salamence and Kangaskhan. So you can have multiple Mega Stones or multiple Z Crystals, as those are allowed. We just can't have like two Salamence. Not that you would want that. So you can have the different multiples of the different Z Crystals or different Mega Stones. So I could have like a Firium Z on one Pokemon and then a Electrium Z on another. So that's totally fine. Next thing is no duplicate Pokemon. This is just Pokemon. Or another way to put this is no Pokemon with the same Pokedex number are allowed on one team. So you can't have two Landorus Therian, which is considered one of the best Pokemon in the format. You can't have two of those. You can only have one. And likewise, you can't have like Landorus Therian form and Landorus Incarnate form, or you can't have Rotom Wash form and Rotom Heat form, because they have the same Pokedex number. So think of it as if it has the same Pokedex number, you can't have it. But I could say have a Blissey and a Chansey. So I can have two Pokemon in the same evolution line, or like I can have Haunter and Gengar. I can do that because they don't have the same Pokedex number, even though they're like the same evolution line. So that's totally fine, but just not duplicate Pokemon or no Pokemon of the same Pokedex number is the best way to remember it. The next one, Pokemon must be native to the Alola region. So what this means is Pokemon have to be caught in the Generation 7 games of Pokemon Sun, Pokemon Moon, Pokemon Ultra Sun, or Pokemon Ultra Moon. To be caught or bred in those games. And the way you know that they are is in here in the game. When you're looking at your Pokemon summary, you can see here I have the arrow pointing towards the black clover, which I have circled. If it has that symbol, that means it is an Alola bred or Alolan caught Pokemon, or Generation 7 bred or caught Pokemon. So that means it's legal. And the reason why that matters is there are certain moves or abilities that you can't obtain on certain Pokemon with the Black Clover. So for instance, you can't have Power Up Punch anymore on Kangaskhan, because in order for Kangaskhan to know Power Up Punch, it's going to have the blue pentagon or just black pentagon in the new games. They'll have a pentagon instead of a clover, meaning it's from the Generation 6 games. So that's Pokemon X, Pokemon Y, Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, those games. But if it has a clover, it can't have that move. But if it has a pentagon or no symbol, that means it can have that move. And so that's kind of the importance of that. And so if it has no symbol, it's from Generations 3, 4, 5. And if there's a little Game Boy symbol, that just means it's from the Virtual Console games like Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow, Pokemon Gold, or Silver. So, but the main thing to remember is it has to have this black clover that you see on the screen with the arrow and it's circled there. So if your Pokemon doesn't have that, it's not legal. If it does have that, it should be legal, and it means it's caught and bred in the games, the Generation 7 games. Alright, so continuing on. So the format of the battles themselves they're all double battles. And what it is, you have 6 Pokemon on a team, but in each battle you only bring 4 Pokemon. And that's pretty significant, as you build a team, you can't bring all 6 of them. So you have to there's strategy in what you bring to what, depending on what your Pokemon has and your opponent has, and you're trying to guess what they're going to bring. So you bring the best 4 to the battle for that. And then also now, this is relatively new in the last couple years, but most events were best of 3 rounds, where
In a single round, you'll play up to 3 games with your opponent, and it's the first to win 2 games. So if you win one game, you win the first game, and then your opponent wins the second game, you'll play a third game to determine who wins the round. So that makes the bringing 4 Pokemon to each battle a little more dynamic. So you bring 4 Pokemon to the first battle and realize, oh, this one Pokemon didn't really help out, so you can make that adjustment and bring something else that would probably do better. Or if you think your opponent's going to bring something else, you can make that adjustment. So that's pretty significant to realize, to keep in mind as well. And again, I will have this linked in the description below, the official rules document. It's just a PDF file format that has all the rules, and if you want to go to a tournament, I highly recommend you read through it, because there's a ton of other things that I can't cover. There's just a lot of things. It's not overwhelming, but it's just good to know things like with the timer, because each battle has a timer called your time, like a chess clock. So being aware of that, certain Pokemon that are legal, like certain moves, things like that. So take a look at that, read it through, and for the other stuff besides just like the format itself as well. Alright, and the next thing I have listed here was I think are useful resources for learning. There's a ton of other resources out there, but I think these 4 things are the most basic that you'll want to use when learning to play, as far as, once you know how to get to an event and what the rules and stuff are. Now, what do you want to bring that would be competitive, or that you want to use and make work? Well, these 4 resources, the Pokemon Global Link, Trainer Tower website, Trainer Tower's damage calculator, and the simulator Pokemon Showdown, are all really useful tools for starting out. And if you just use these 4 things, that's mostly what I use are these. There's some other resources out there I will utilize that I might try and get to in other guides in the future, and I'll have links to all 4 of these in the description below. Become familiar with these things, play around with them, and just learn the ins and outs of these things. And I'm going to give right now a little tutorial just to show you what they look like, how they're used, so you can see before you go play with it yourself. So real quick, I'm just going to go through each one of these and just go over how to use them and all that. Alright, so here we have the Pokemon Global Link, and this is how you will connect your game's save to just link up with them online, basically. So, and you'll do that. There's something here on the Global Link that kind of explains how to do it, and you'll go to the Festival Plaza in your game and go to the PC inside, and you'll click Game Sync, and you'll get an ID. And then what you'll do is when you log in, which you'll need a Pokemon account, Pokemon.com account. And you do that just by clicking sign up and set that all up, set up a username and a password. You'll be issued a trainer ID, which you'll use for registering for live events. And if you go to an event and you don't have an ID, a TO can issue one there, and then you can sync that ID to your Pokemon account if you already have one or haven't created one yet when you do it. And you can just talk to the TO and ask them about that. So what you'll do is you'll enter username and password, click login, and then when you get to it, it'll ask you to enter your game sync ID from your game, and then select the game. And then when you've done that, when you log in, it asks you to select the particular game. But you don't have to log in to use all the features, just to kind of see where you rank specifically on like the battle spot. And that's what I'm going to show you right now. So you can go down to rating battles here, and if you're logged into a particular game, it will automatically go to what game you're on, but we want Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, obviously. And then when that comes up, it'll show here's like all the different battles you can play on Battle Spot, and what we want to play on is Championship Battle, because this plays in the official rule set. And so if you're logged in, you can click My Ranking and see where you rank. You can select the region. So like, say I want to look up all the United States players, and here's all the players in the USA that have high ratings, ranked from first all the way down to the bottom. And then, but the really useful thing is the Pokemon rankings and usage stats. So you can see, like, Landorus is the most commonly used Pokemon on this
battle spot ladder, and then Finny's number 2, Crystalia's number 3, and so on and so on. So it shows like what are the most commonly used Pokemon, which is really great for starting out, so you can see, get an idea of what's good, what people are using. And on top of that, if you click the Pokemon, you can see what their most common moves are, the ability, natures, and their held item. So, and then as well as you can see what they're commonly on a team with. And then this one's kind of useful. I don't look at it too much, but you can kind of get an idea. So when this is victorious, you can see a lot of times it's KOing. A lot of times it's just because these are common Pokemon, but it can give you an idea, like, you know, Coco is usually losing to Landorus, so if you have a problem with Coco, you can maybe run Landorus and run maybe its most common item, Assault Vest, and its most common move, Earthquake, and that'll deal with Tapu Koko really well. And then you can look at when it's defeated. It's being beat a lot by Finny and Cresselia, which are 2 Pokemon that are actually really good against Landorus, or at least can deal a lot of damage to it. And so you can kind of see if you have a problem, if you're like having a hard time doing Landorus, you can click to see what defeats it the most and maybe add one of those to your team in order to help against, you know, play against Landorus. And then also when you're in here, you can click this Pokemon and see its stats, close it here. And if there's a Pokemon not listed in the top 30, you just simply go up here to choose a Pokemon, and you can find it by name or Pokedex number. So say I want to look up Gardevoir, because Gardevoir is a Pokemon I like to use, but it's not listed in the top 30, so I want to see what people are doing with it. And you can see the top moves here and how it's Mega Gardevoir, because that's usually, if you're going to use Gardevoir, you want to use the Mega. So, and then all the same stuff. So this is very helpful when you're starting out, especially when you're looking for like ideas on what you even want to use, because there's over 800 Pokemon now, but I guess less than 800 that are usable. So yeah, definitely take advantage of this as far as going about, you know, when you start actually doing the battling. And then, so we'll move on to the next resource I want to show you guys. So trainertower.com is a really good resource for VGC players. It has a bunch of different things. So as you can see here, it just had a preview of the regional that just happened over the weekend. And I'm expecting this week they'll have the results and the teams used in that event. And here's a guide on EV training hotspots, which is very useful when you're starting out, so you know the best way to EV train your Pokemon in game. News about the rules being announced, and so on and so on. And so they have a whole bunch of different things. So they have articles, resources such as some guidelines, speed tiers. You can kind of get an idea of the speeds of Pokemon, because that's really important. They have some stuff from the last season that haven't been fully updated yet. The damage calculator, which I'll get to next. The survival calculator, which I'll get to in another video. This is a little more advanced, but it's very useful. Team reports. Team reports, I think, is the bread and butter of a site like this. You can see people will share the Pokemon they've used, or the teams they've used at big events that have done well. So like here's a team at Liverpool Regionals, another regional one. So, and there's a whole host of them. This is one that I did right here, and here's one that had a top 8 at 3 international championships, which is the level right below Worlds but above regionals. So, and you'll click one. For instance, let's go to this one by Lightcore, and he'll just, you know, he shows his whole team, the sets and everything that he used in the tournament, the EV spreads, the moves, details about the team, so you can actually they share this team for other players to copy and then play with. Obviously this is last year's format, and there's no guides for the new format that's starting up in this January. But expect to see those pop up once you get to see into some more tournaments. So that's a very useful resource. And then there's some analysis, results, so you can look up results of past events. So like I look at some regionals from last year, I can see what was used. And they'll have some for this year once we get into more tournaments. And then forums. The forums are really handy because you can go on here and then ask any questions about anything, or just go into general discussion. Here's question and answer. You do some trading and ask for battles here. And then tools and resources is a good spot for this resource index, which has just a whole list of things that I'm sharing some of it, but there's some old guides here that are really helpful in learning to just battle and play the game, such as doing EV spreads, things like that. So kind of go through that if you're really looking for some resources to help you learn this competitive Pokemon game. And the next thing I want to show you is part of Trainer Tower, and that's the damage calculator. This is this is probably the most important tool in playing Pokemon. You'll be able to look up how much damage certain moves are going to do to other Pokemon. So let's look at Landorus T, the most common Pokemon, is Therian form, versus, let's go with another common Pokemon, Charizard, Mega Charizard Y, in fact. So you can see how much certain moves will do. For instance, we have a Landorus that's maxed out in attack, and that will do 120% to 143% of its HP to Charizard. So that'll, knock out a Charizard in one hit. And then you can change the moves here. Like, say I'm not using Fly. Say I have the move Superpower. Put that there for something like Kangaskhan, and I want to change this to Mega to Kangaskhan, and you can select Megas here, and you can see how much Superpower does to Kangaskhan, another common Pokemon. And then another neat thing about this is, say I'm using Kangaskhan and I want to survive this Superpower from Landorus. Well, I'm going to kind of just bump up certain stats. So I'll just bump up HP until, and you can click it to where it's yellow and it'll stay there, which is really handy. So keep going up, and there. So 116 HP EVs. I survive Landorus' Superpower guaranteed, and this is Adamant Max. This is as high as the attack as Landorus can go. So this is a very useful tool, and I'll touch it more when I get into a guide on building EV spreads and optimizing them. So, but this is a good basic thing to just be playing. Just play around with it and start to learning calcs is huge for any team. So, and there's a bunch of other settings for like weather and terrains, and protect through, or hitting a Z move through protect. So this is all really valuable, and you'll just kind of want to use this frequently just to kind of understand and know what your Pokemon can take and how much damage they can dish. And then, so moving on to the last resource, this one is equally important if you choose to use it. Okay, and so here is the last resource I'm going to show you guys, called Pokemon Showdown. This is a very useful resource that if you choose to use it, you'll use it a lot. It's really good for building a team, and you can actually play battles on it, because this is a simulator that simulates how the game is played in game. It has some little quirky differences in the mechanics that they just haven't gotten to yet, but for the most part it's almost exactly like playing it on the game in terms of how mechanics work. So it's a great way to build a team, practice with it, and then you can make adjustments on here as you battle, and then go and build it in game, do the breeding and EV training and hyper training, all that stuff. And this is just a great way to save time, because you find out what you want your team to be, how you want your team to be trained and what you want it to do before you spend all that time, instead of building a team, finding out, oh, I don't like this Pokemon, I need something different, and then take more time to breed that or to change an EV spread. So this is just great for practicing ideas and getting a team down for something you're confident with or comfortable with, and then taking it in game and practicing, or taking it to a tournament and playing with it. So this will just help save a lot of time. So I'll just show you a couple of the main features you'll be using, or that will be useful in doing this. So here you can select the format you want to battle in, and there's tons of different formats. A lot of these formats are run by what's called Smogon.com, and they have a lot of like singles formats, some doubles formats, and other fun ones, and past gen formats. So they're all unofficial, and by unofficial I mean they're not run directly by the Pokemon company like VGC is. These are just run by some people on the Smogon website and forums that they they choose what's legal in different tiers, and they just kind of moderate it and do bans. It's a good change up. Some people like it. A lot of people like it, actually. It's just kind of, what, to each their own. I like the doubles format. A lot of people like singles. I like to mix up with singles sometimes, play random battles, which is really fun. But so we're looking for VGC 2018, which is what we're playing, and then when you select that, you have a list. You can click this to drop down all the teams that you have tagged under the VGC 18 format, and then you just click battle, and it finds a random opponent, and then you battle. And so that's the most straightforward thing you'll be doing. Another cool feature is you can watch battles. So you click the watch battle, select the format, so we'll click 2018, and then here's all the battles currently going on at this time, and you can just say click it, and then you can watch their battle and see their teams they're using. So this is a really cool way to kind of see what other people are using, get ideas, inspiration. And I tend to just go on here and just not even battle, but just watch other people's battles. You can click this to find higher rated battles. So, and I'll look for battles that are rated fairly high, and just to see what people are using and get some inspiration. It's just really useful tool for paying attention to what's happening in the meta. And another cool feature, you can click find a user and search a user, and I'm going to search up Swaggy McBuckets, who is our other contributor of the channel, Matt Jackson, and you can see you can challenge him, chat with him. If he's online, it'll show if he's in a chat or if he's in a battle, and if there's a star next to the battle, that means he's participating in the battle, otherwise he's just watching. So I could click the battle and I'd be watching his battle immediately, or I can click chat to chat with him, click challenge, and then I can select the format and then select the team and then hit send. But he's not online, so if I were to do that, it would just say he's not online. Or if I try to chat with him, it'd be like, hey, he's not online. But if he's online, you can chat with other people that way, which is kind of a cool tool. So if you know someone that's also on Showdown, you can get their username and send them a chat, maybe practice battle, things like that. Team build together, really useful. And you can chat in battles too, but you can also turn that feature off if you don't want to use the chat. And then so the last thing, which is really important, is the team builder. So you click this, and I already have it open, and in these tabs is where you can go between them. So I already have it open with a team here. And when you go in, there's buttons to click new team, and then you can select the format of the team, and this is an 18 team, so I select that. And then also when you have your list of teams, it'll show all the different formats you haven't tagged in, so you can filter it by the format, which is really useful. So anyways, just to kind of give you a rundown of how this works, here you can name the team, and I've named this training episodes 1 through 6 because this is the team we use in our first 6 episodes of training battles on the channel. And so what you do is you go in here, and here's all the list of Pokemon, and it'll even show all the ones that are legal. So in VGC, almost everything's legal. But if I scroll all the way down, right now this is just in alphabetical order. If I keep scrolling, so it's just showing all of the legal stuff. It's here. Sometimes if it shows non-legal stuff, it'll just say banned, which means it can't be used in this format. But you can also filter it. So say I want to find a fire type, click fire, select type here, and sure enough, here's all the fire types that are allowed. Yeah, see, and then these ones are all listed as banned because these are not usable. Some of them have different forms, like cast form Sunny obviously can be used because cast form's legal, but cast form Sunny is a form that changes into that form in battles. So that will, Aegis / Blade form will say it's banned, but that's because it's one of those forms that changes into that form in battle. And you'll see some ones like this that are just there's a format where they create a Pokemon, and so just ignore those for VGC unless you play in the create a Pokemon format. Okay, so there's all the fire types, and then if I want to clear the filter, I just click that there. And then it can also search by name. So say I want to find Landorus. See, here's the different Landorus forms, and you just select the one you want. You can also search for moves, I want to find out what all the legal Trick Room users are. Click Trick Room, and here's all the Pokemon that I can learn in the move Trick Room. And then you can clear that. You can search abilities as well. So we're just keeping with Kangaskhan. Here's all the items. And for this one, it's Kangaskhanite, but you select the item, different, so like say I want to have a Life Orb, not use Mega. You select Life Orb, but with Kangaskhan, we definitely want Mega. And then we have the abilities. So with Megas, it'll show what the parental bond is its ability after Mega evolving. And since I gave it a Kangaskhanite, it's showing what it's going to be. But here are the abilities before Mega evolving, so I select the ability I want, like Scrappy. So it has Scrappy. And then I have the moves. So, and already I have it selected here with Double Edge, Sucker Punch, Low Kick, Fake Out. And it lists all the moves it can learn here. Now, one thing to note with Pokemon Showdown is it lists moves that aren't actually VGC legal, because it'll list everything it can learn from past generations that it can't learn in current generation 7. So, for example, Power Up Punch Kangaskhan. So let's say I don't want Low Kick. I want the move Power Up Punch to give me that +2 to an attack, so my double edges do double damage. So, because it lists Power Punch, I should be able to use it. Well, the thing is, Kangaskhan cannot have the move Power Punch and the Black Clover and be legal. So, some of these moves, another example is Seismic Toss. It can't get Seismic Toss because that is an exclusive one from the Kangaskhan you get from the Generation 1 Virtual Console games when you transfer up to Gen 6 or Gen 7 games. So it can't actually have Seismic Toss either. So if you're unsure of what can be used, you simply just go back to here and hit this button Validate. And as you can see, it tells you if there's anything wrong. Kangaskhan can't learn Power Punch. So simply change that. I'll go back to Low Kick, go back to Team, hit Validate, and now it says it's valid. So you can double check moves that way, just give it the move and then click that Validate button, and that'll help you learn which moves are allowed and what and such. So Power Punch, Seismic Toss, not allowed in VGC, even though in other formats where they allow past gen moves, you could use Power Punch or Seismic Toss on Mega Kangaskhan if you wanted to. And so yeah, you just select the 4 moves, 4 legal moves, and then EV spreads here. You can just kind of adjust them here, and you can see how the stats change when I move these. So like say, if I have no attack, it's 115. Put in 200, the maximum amount of attack EVs, it bumps up to 147. And you can also kind of mess with the IVs to see how that changes. So if I have no HP IVs, I'm at 165, where if I'm at the max amount of IVs, 181, which usually you want max on all of them. Just there's some sets that'll be different, like Trick Room teams that want to be the slowest possible under Trick Room, and all that. So this Kangaskhan's really straightforward, just max speed, max attack with the remaining 4 in HP, and obviously I'll try and have an EV guide on how to build EV spreads and kind of maybe go more into depth. Over here you can select the natures and it tells you what increases and what decreases. Say I want an Adamant nature instead, and you can see the changes there. But on this Kangaskhan I'm running Jolly. So that's a good way to build your team, and then obviously you can go to the damage calculator and put in those numbers and see what those numbers do with specific calcs, and then adjust it as here. IV spreads, different ones. A lot of special attackers run minimum attack IVs, so you don't have to worry about that too much. The min speed maybe when you're building your team in game, if you want to be as slow as possible. But a lot of times if you're just all 31, that's works for most case. And I can show you, as you can see here, this is just regular Kangaskhan stats. If I want to look at Mega Kangaskhan, the easiest way to do it is click this import export button, and this is where you can copy it. And if say someone sends you this like a Pokemon with this format in text, you can actually copy it and paste it to here and then click save, and it'll just bring that Pokemon up, which is a really handy feature. But I'm just gonna go dash Mega, click save. It's changed to Mega Kangaskhan. It's giving me Mega Kangaskhan stats, so I can see what the stats are going to be when it Mega evolves. And then when I go to the damage calculator, I can use that in order to get the correct calcs, because I don't want to be going off of, import export, because I don't want to be going off of just regular Kangaskhan stats, because those aren't going to be correct. So if I just leave it as regular Kangaskhan, so I can see what its stats are in regular form, so when I compare it to my Kangaskhan in game, I can look at the stats and compare that the EV spreads are how they should be and everything. And yeah, and I think that is about it. You can delete Pokemon here. You can delete teams back in the where it lists all your teams. You can see all of the, and so I've done this with this whole team. I've built EV spreads, and you can see, you know, they get more complicated than just 252, 252 at times. And again, I'll try and have a guide at some point in the near future on building EV spreads and how to do it effectively, and all that. So, and I think that is the gist of Pokemon Showdown for this guide. Alright, and now that I've shown you all of those useful resources, the last thing I want to show you is other VGC YouTube channels. These are really helpful in learning the strategy, how to play the game, and to see how other players think. And all these channels, these are all good players. They've had success in tournaments, and Wolfie VGC, he goes by WolfGlick. He's actually the 2016 World Champion, so he has a lot of insight and knowledge to offer in his videos. And all these channels have battles posted. They'll play on BattleSpot and they'll commentate on their thought process, which is really helpful. And this was huge for me in learning. And I think one of the best ways to learn is just to watch these videos, and it gives you ideas on what to use. And they'll do reports on teams they've used, so you can just copy them and go play with those teams and just start to learn how to play the game. The one exception to these videos is Wobblefett. His videos are more about mechanics of the game, like mechanics that we may not know about, and those are actually really useful to learn. And I really like watching those because there's always something in some mechanic where it's like, I never knew that. That's really useful, and it could be something little that goes into effect in a tournament that, if you know it, it could be a difference in winning and losing. So I highly recommend checking that out because there's some pretty neat mechanics to know. And he does post as well as some videos from live tournaments, some battles and that. So yeah, check these channels out and subscribe to them for sure. There are a lot of high quality channels here, and a lot of them are relatively unknown, and it'd be nice for them to see more support. So check these channels out. All their links all these ones will be in the description below. There's other channels out there that I might have missed or haven't found yet, because there's just some smaller ones that don't have the exposure yet. So like our channel right now, at the time I'm doing this, so yeah, definitely check some of these out, and hopefully you haven't heard of some of these channels and you'll find some new stuff to watch, or you haven't heard of any of these and you can just go start watching these channels. So, and with that sums up this guide, and this should be hopefully the first in a series of guides I do for newer players. So I'm going to try and do things like how to optimize EV spreads or EV train your Pokemon well, and things like maybe a team building guide for newer players, So if there's something specifically you want to see, leave a suggestion in the comment below, and I'll try and make something like that happen. And yeah, and if you like this, leave a like. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.